Okay, kali ni live kita akan buka podcast. Ini go out to Grozan following Chronicle. If you happen to see this live is live is especially for you lah, regarding Noor Derus punya recent punya not case lah, virality in Singapore. So what happened was last month was Singapore punya general election. So kat Malaysia dia panggil PRU lah kan, pilihan raya lah kan. So happens that he was not invited to a opposition party. And then dia ada a list of demand lah kan, when he was at the meeting that was not invited. Okay, and then he gives some what's it called, demand and macam proposal lah, so to speak lah, tentang apa ni tentang hak-hak orang Melayu di Singapore. So some agree, some don't agree. So as you know, this guy is misunderstood by certain context lah. Okay, but in a way he managed to spin himself. He has his own motive lah. Okay, and when he got in the trap, okay, he will know how to escape lah. Okay, for this kind of issue. Alright, so let's check it out lah. Alright, so, this is from a podcast called Plan B Podcast SG. You can watch on Spotify. There's many episode. Alright, it's quite famous in Singapore. So korang boleh tengok lah. Alright, without further ado, let's go. Meow. Hold on why am I offline? Right. Okay, let's go and play. paisi lah tu. Lupa tu cucuk.
Tells me, right? Former PM Mahathir Mohamad also posted something about this again.
Oh, yes.
You're listening to Plan B Podcast. The opinions expressed and shared on this podcast are of our own.
Some breaking news that we want to get to right now, and that is this.
Government will support you, the individual works hard, and the employers will employ and promote fairly.
Always underestimate,
Welcome to planb.sg.
I am Zar Ismail.
And I am Darren Mark.
And I am Rama.
Oh, every time, whenever we want to cover elections, for previous episode, the off-cast discussions are so robust
so
and so heated.
No, and okay, so like for this campaign period, right?
Yeah.
We actually we were thinking that we're just gonna do like a regularly scheduled show. I'm starting to realize that maybe that's not very feasible.
I'm gonna give some context to our listeners,
Right.
because our emails are spammed by people from different political parties who want to push the Akmal and
either they want to come on board.
they want to
to
showcase their talents lah.
Yeah.
Which we are happy to.
Well, we're happy to showcase,
Except
and
for some political parties who just don't want to come on.
That's for another conversation.
I will respect their opinion or whatever. Okay, so yet another piece of news that has arisen and also created talk within incumbent and opposition political parties about foreign interference.
Oh, yes.
From I think past members.
Yes.
Not past PAST, PAS as in Parti Agama Islam for Malaysia.
So PAS is one of them, but actually it was directed at 3 different people. One of which is actually
Wait, this is based on
ex-employee.
there were articles that, as at time of recording, there was articles on this.
No, the actual statement from the MHA statement.
Yes, correct. Yeah.
It was actually directed at 3 people. So one of them is, of course, a PAS politician.
First of all, can I just take a step back? I never thought it will happen here because I saw like the...
Never thought what would happen here.
No, I mean the foreign interference kind of thing.
interference,
Bro, it
Because
happens everywhere.
I've seen it in the US and then Russia, the whole shit.
Yes.
Like Singapore, wow. Singapore.
I mean,
Why would anyone want
we
to?
matter, what? I mean, like the only people that don't have to worry about...
We matter, yes.
No, but it's true. The only people who don't have to worry about foreign interference is like if your country is completely of no interest to your neighbors.
Yeah.
And the fact is, we are in a region where, we are a powerhouse in many regards. And so, of course, people are going to want to get their fingers into our politics.
Okay, chronology of what happened.
Okay. So basically, chronology-wise, there was this post that went a little bit viral on Facebook by this individual called Noor Derus. Not very clear who this person is, but apparently he does have links to Singapore in the past.
Okay.
But I think now he's based in Malaysia. I mean, you tell me a bit more about this.
Zal will give you the 411.
Yes, yeah. But so essentially, because of that, he basically put out something like a open letter of sorts, pushing for certain positions regarding Islam in Singapore.
Okay.
Yes.
And also making certain allegations about a particular party in Singapore. His claim was that there was only one party in Singapore that entertained his ideas lah.
Yeah.
Now
Which has been disavowed.
Yeah, they've been disavowed. So they've said that we never agreed to anything, we never promised anything. But the fact is,
Of course,
he
must
made
faster
that
say,
claim. Yeah, but he made that claim.
Okay.
So because of that, it kind of cast the spotlight a little bit.
Wait, the past members, that one what?
Yeah, so after that, there was a whole thing about foreign interference because so this Iskandar person from PAS was highlighted as one of those individuals who endorsed a particular party in Singapore. And so he, along with 2 other people, have been flagged out. Their posts have been blocked, so you cannot see them in Singapore.
What they type about?
I don't know. I mean, it's been blocked. So unless you were aware of it beforehand, you can't see it now.
I know Rahman has friends in a lot of places, in Russia, Dubai, Middle East.
Yeah.
And also, I think of course, he did mention he has friends in PAS. What's happening, bro?
Well, my friends in past were from the youth group.
Oh, okay.
Association.
And they were, on many occasions, they would visit Singapore. It's a healthy relationship, right?
Okay.
We look at different political systems. They also are interested in how things are run here. And you know how in Malaysia, there's always that rhetoric about Malay race, this, that, that. Now,
It's very Malaysia lah.
yeah, it's very relevant there, but it's completely irrelevant here.
Yeah.
But we must understand that the way they appreciate politics will be along those lines.
Yeah.
They will always be looking at this.
Already in my head when they're doing their election campaign, nak jadi seperti Melayu Singapore yang tak boleh azan dekat masjid.
I mean, even recently, I think about 2 months ago,
which is completely untrue, by the way. I just want to throw that in here.
But I think as recent as about 2 months ago, if my memory serves me right, former PM Mahathir Mohamad also posted something about this again.
Oh, yes.
That's Mahathir for you. That's Mahathir.
That's Malaysian politics.
Yeah. He's always doing that. So the reality is they will always be curious about what goes on here.
So their posts have been blocked.
Yes.
Noor Derus post has been blocked.
I'm actually not sure if it's been blocked.
If I remember, he is not Malaysian.
Yes.
Right.
Okay. Noor Derus is
He's Singaporean, right?
Singaporean. He's an interesting character. I know a lot of news article mentioned that he is a religious teacher or whatever. But here, if you want to be a legit religious teacher, you need to have the ARS accreditation.
Right.
But I think recently Muiz also released a statement.
Yeah.
He hasn't received any form of accreditation via ARS.
Yes.
Because he breached some sort of, or not in line with some code of
Not
conduct.
just breach, he refused to comply. So it's even worse.
Yeah, but in 2016 he did apply, but I don't know whether he got or not. I don't think he did.
didn't get it, yeah.
But from not my sensing, like I've asked people, and I'm a very big consumer of the Islamic discourse in Malaysia. I mean, not really deep lah, but sometimes it's very interesting, like paranormal versus apa.
Yeah, very
and then
wide.
the whole story about drama bid'ah, Wale.
Oh yes,
and
yes.
then the issue about
oh shit, bro. Even in Saudi, they're watching that, man.
Ustaz Wadi, a recent telemovie on YouTube, kind of like whacking the Wahhabist sect in Malaysia. Then I love watching this discourse because I wouldn't say it's entertaining, but I learn a bit more lah.
Yeah.
Right.
So Noor Derus, if memory serve me right, back then he was here in Singapore. He tried to establish some sort of like a dinar dirham kind of like currency lah.
I see.
He says like, which I understand where he's coming from. Like the banking system is got riba lah, not aligned with Islamic law lah.
Okay,
So
that one changed the banking system.
Yeah.
What's it going to do with the currency?
yeah, so he tried to establish that here. It didn't work. He went to Malaysia, established a small group who tried to propagate that as well. Didn't work there as well. But when we went there, initially he went into these tariqat, Sufi circles. And then right after that, he got problem with the people inside there. I don't know got problem, got some fight lah. And then after that, he go out.
This is your understanding.
This is my understanding lah. He got to some Ahli Sunnah wal Jama'ah circles. Also, he didn't agree to some things, and then he fight also. And then he went on to affiliate himself to kind of like a Wahhabi Salafi circles. That one also got fight.
Alamak.
Kind of like, so there's a pattern here. He's someone who likes to come inside, and his way of kind of like
chaos,
not create chaos. I think to push forth his.
He's an independent thinker lah.
Yeah,
I can kind of relate, to be honest.
That's much like Darren in liberal circles and in civil society like 5 years ago. Yeah, like to get points across, his way is in debate lah, and in debate in a way he will call out, he'll like come challenge me and all that. While that have its merits in Malaysia where you have an audience, doesn't sit shit here in Singapore because that's not how we do things here.
Yeah.
We're kind of like, there's a within the religion of Islam itself, there's many different divisions, and and these divisions are very, very sensitive and
Different camps,
different camps. You have been in these circles before, and then
correct.
you've talked about the sensitivities, and that's not how it works here.
It doesn't work.
Maybe down there you can open a YouTube channel, you get hate and all that kind of shit.
Yeah.
But you live in Negeri Sembilan. You're based in Selangor. Here I'm in Bedok, you're in Tampines. Doesn't work that way, man. So that's my understanding of Noor Derus. And when he propagates certain things, the way I look at it is that when he kind of like pull himself away from circles that he was once in Malaysia.
Right.
Now, even the Malaysians, I wouldn't say generally, but some factions don't like him because he's seen as this Singaporean cari makan dekat Malaysia.
I can imagine. I mean, it's basically front appearance.
And then after that, you're rocking the boat in different circles. And now when you don't have any more ideally clout, you turn your attention to Singapore because people here, I wouldn't say generally, there's some people here who are giving you the attention. So
welcome
he's
home, I
lapping it
guess,
up.
but
I understand where the anger is coming from because like maybe back then he wanted to apply for ARS, he didn't get it, whatever shit it is. Like for me, maybe I can relate in a sense. Last time I was in Mediacorp, I wasn't given enough chances. I left, do my own podcast, kind of like F bureaucracy kind of thing. And then when in my podcast, I'm very, very loud about my criticism of mainstream media, how it should have been done, blah, blah, blah. I resonate with the anger, I understand. But sometimes when you go down that path of that personal vendetta, you end up like
Toxic,
tunnel vision. You think you are right, and then other people are not.
And
not
when
right,
it comes to something as sensitive as religion,
exactly, bro.
it's very, very dangerous.
And one of his main claims, I think, was actually to criticize Amla. Right? He was and Muiz. In fact, he was arguing that it needed to be reformed in some way.
Okay.
Right? No, I think that was one of his main claims.
I mean, I was reading his post as well, and the way he structured his post was he was supposedly representative of the voice of the Asatiza. Supposedly, that was my interpretation of what he was trying to say. And he says that the Asatiza community feels that Muiz and Amla in itself were restrictive in many ways, needed to be reformed. Now there's a lot of talk about popular candidacy on who leads the Muslim people and all this. All that is what he claims to be what wants to be done by the community of people who lead religion in Singapore.
Well, maybe whatever he spews out, if he lived here long enough, for a period or whatever, for the past 5 years, 6 years, maybe he can have, I feel, like a say in this. But if you spend a very long time away from Singapore, not understanding how we have progressed and the kind of things that has been implemented here, you are out of touch. And then you kind of like from far throwing rocks at us. And I say us because this will affect us as a community, bro.
Yes. As a country, as a nation. So, but on that note, I thought it was very important we deal with the fact that at least from my perspective, whatever he says doesn't resonate nor is actually representative of what Asatizas think. So because of that,
we have
a guest
with us.
today. Yes.
So
who is she?
So I'm going to introduce our guest. So welcome.
Quite decorated guest.
Yes,
she wears many hats.
Yes. So Ustazah Dr. Siti Nur Alania binti Abdul Wahid.
Right.
Doctor. Okay. So welcome. I mean, you are the honorary secretary of Pergas, which is a the association, the main association for.
But of course, she says she is coming here on her own personal court. She doesn't want to wear this hat. She is giving her own
because
opinion.
she is deeply involved in other Islamic bodies as well.
Like what,
but she's not representing any of them.
I know she's quite high flyer,
She's
a learned person.
She's a very learned person. She deals with many different social issues. She also is actively involved in the Asatiza community and the regulation of the Asatiza community. So, but I'm not going to go into so much into that. I think more importantly is we want to hear her views as someone who has walked the road of being an Asatiza, someone who has been actively involved in social change for the Muslim community in Singapore.
Right.
And that I think is more valuable than anyone who, like what you say,
typing angrily on a keyboard overseas.
Exactly.
So before that, I want to know, welcome Doctor to the show.
Welcome.
We talk about certain ethics as an Asatiza. I've heard about this a lot. There's a certain kind of behavior that you have to abide to when you're an Asatiza, or else you'll not be able to get accreditation via ARS. Like how many rules of such? Like generally, maybe you can give us, and of course our listeners, kind of an idea what it takes to be an Asatiza here in Singapore.
First and foremost, thank you for having me. And I take it that there's a kind of you, the compliment words that you gave it to me. But to me, it is really a huge responsibility on me. But anyway, I'm here to just to share the truth. So back to your question, yes. So ARS, we have the Code of Ethics, which is established, or is a framework which is established by the ARB, the Asatiza Recognition Board. But I think it is also important for me to also share that the Asatiza Recognition Board consists of 12 senior Asatiza who is actually represented or representing various sectors. So it is not Muiz, but it is actually a senior Asatiza coming from a different various sectors, which also serving the community. And what it takes to be the Asatiza, it is not only just about the education, not only just about us having to learn the proper or the probably the typical Islamic studies route, but it is also about understanding the context of where you are in.
Right.
The Code of Ethics is not just about to uphold the ethical, the high ethics of an Asatiza, but it is also about the competency, the integrity. And also, I think more importantly, because we are living in a context which is a secular country, various, we have a racial, different race, different religion, and so therefore it is important that bearing in mind that whatever that we say, whatever that we present, whatever that we teach, we need to also be sensitive with the context that we are in. Yeah.
So Ustaz, I mean, you talk about, like we live in a secular country, but I mean, in a way, Noor Derus's argument was actually about that, specifically to say that, to disavow the secular state because it is somehow restricting and limiting Muslims. That, you can't be a full Muslim, you can't practice your religion fully because it's a secular state.
I think, with respect, I think that's a bit of an extension of what he says. It's not, you're not wrong to appreciate that from him, but he was actually quite specific. It was very community based. He seems to sing the song that as a community, we are being controlled or we are not allowed to practice that the way that we want to. And therefore, there needs to be some form of massive overhaul of MUIS and the Administration of Muslim Law Act. Now, I mean, I can go on for half an hour on the Administration of Muslim Law Act because it has been an area of interest for me since I was in university. But more importantly, as an Asatiza, right? What are your views? The existence of of MUIS as a statutory board that helps in the implementation and administration of the Muslim faith, and the fact that we have the Administration of Muslim Law Act itself, how does that work out for you as someone who is in the field practicing?
So if I may share this, me as a Muslim, not much of me being an Asatiza or maybe, having some connections with our Malay Muslim organizations, including MUIS and all. But this is really as myself as a Muslim. I feel that having MUIS or even having AMLA, it actually facilitate me being a Muslim to actually allow me to practice our rituals. And I think that this is actually quite unique. I don't see any other country that have this kind of model where we have the Religious Council of Singapore who is actually facilitating our Hajj, our Zakat, and allowing us even to do our Salat Jumaat. Even we have mosques. It's not just one mosque, but we have many mosques almost at every neighborhood area. And so I feel that if this is something that we cannot be grateful for, I'm not sure what then that we would want more. And I also, through my observations and through what I have heard from friends from other country, they would also say that something like, they would want something like what we have here in Singapore, because over there I think there's no agency or there's no board that is actually looking at the needs of the Muslim the Muslim community. From prayer to marriage, basically it's all being looking after here in Singapore by MUIS and regulated or maintained by the AMLA itself.
So on top of all of these things that this Noor Derus is trying to say, right? Like he also has kind of used the name of the Asatiza community because he seems to be saying that he's got a lot of people backing him up. So Ustaz, I mean, is that true?
Yeah, honestly, I mean, I think that is truly a misrepresenting of Asatiza. Because I think he also mentioned that he has some Asatiza with him. So we are not sure who are these Asatiza that he is referring to. I think in Islam or even as an Asatiza, I think integrity and accountability is very important and it's key. So by putting on that claims, I think it is not right and it's actually doing injustice towards the institutions of Asatiza.
Right. Oh, okay. Wow, that's quite scathing actually.
That's a slap, bro. Just call it what it is.
Now we know why he doesn't have the ethics. He didn't pass the ethics board.
I know you involved in this AMLA kind of thing and you have an interest. Doctor, you're very well versed. Let me be the voice of a normie Singaporean because I don't know what's happening. The only thing I know when you mention AMLA, I know some liberal circles want to abolish certain AMLA. So what is it? Why? So the thing is, okay, if liberals want to abolish some kind of like Farah 8 laws or whatever, then Noor Derus also want to abolish our. So like, What is this AMLA law that governs us and, you
You see,
is it the divorce thing? Because I'm divorced.
So the reality.
I want it abolished. No, lah. No, I'm just joking.
Okay, so if you look at the whole root of it, right? My memory serves me right. It started out as the Administration of Muslim Law Ordinance, 1958, long time ago.
So this is a law for Muslims.
Law for Muslims.
Okay.
1958 means it was pre-independence, right? So you must understand this in the British context when we were still a colony, a British colony. Why do we even need to have this Administration of Muslim Law Ordinance? Because one thing about the British, when they colonized different places, they still gave respect to personal laws.
Okay.
Right? And at that point in time, the Malays, of course, were the indigenous people, and the religion of the indigenous people was what the Malays were practicing.
Give respect is one way to put it. The other way is do it so that you can be appeased and don't come and bother my economic exploitation.
Okay, so I know the whole history kind of thing. So this Noor Derus want to abolish AMLA law, so we abide to what?
I don't know. So
there must be some laws to be in place, what? Because if there's no court order or whatever shit, I can imagine it'd be quite problematic.
Other religions don't have a similar.
So the reality is, as Muslims, the way we get married is different. The way we divorce is different. The way when we
give away our wealth is different when we die. So we have a will.
And then we have things like what Ustazah mentioned just now. We got Haji, we got Umrah, we got Zakat. We have so many different aspects of our personal practices that would be very difficult if we were living in an entirely secular state. Right. That's a reality.
And especially as a minority community.
Yeah, exactly. So the point is it a perfect set of laws? No, it can never be a perfect set of laws. That's why over the years, it has to be constantly updated. It has to be amended. It has to take note of what are recent changes, what are communal needs. So things like, Farai, the limitations, how is it distributed, the definition. I mean, I myself am I wouldn't say activist, but I am actively asking for change in terms of the understanding of what is Muslim law, the definitions, how you're going to interpret inheritance. All of these things are things that need to be discussed, not just by anyone who feels like they have access to a keyboard, by people who are actually in the field practicing like that.
I agree.
By people like me who are lawyers who are doing this thing every day of our lives. We have a vested interest in continually improving the laws. And when we speak, we are speaking with the gumption of people who actually are involved in it. So to have that body of laws is actually very important. And we must understand the first person who drafted it was the then Solicitor General, who I suddenly can't remember his name, but if I remember correctly, it was Ahmad Ibrahim. When he drafted
that, in the mosque.
Yeah, it's in the mosque.
The founder.
It's named after him.
I'm not on the mosque.
And he was the Solicitor General there.
Oh, he lawyer.
Yeah, he lawyer.
Okay.
He high flyer, bro.
I don't know.
High flyer, pride.
This is your fraternity, bro.
Yeah, and he drafted the Administration of Muslim Law Act way back then. And from what I understand from talk in the bar rooms in the different courts, he was also very very involved in the establishment of the Constitution of Singapore, which talks about the protection of the minority faiths.
I know you're very passionate about this, but the first thing when I thought about Ahmad Ibrahim as a lawyer and it's kind of cool he had a mosque, would it be cool if you had a mosque? Like Ar-Rahman Mosque.
No.
Knowing him, he might leave some wakaf or whatever.
That also is regulated within the act itself. But just to touch on what Ustazah said earlier, right? If you've gone for Hajj,
doctor, please.
Doctor. If you've gone
Which
for
one
Hajj,
higher? Doctor
first, then Ustazah.
If you go for Hajj, you will appreciate the level at which, as Singaporeans, you are taken care of and protected.
Okay.
When you do Hajj,
you've done Hajj, right?
Yes, you have to go from one place to another. We actually have representatives from WINS there.
I see.
Protecting and guiding every single step of the way. They are on the ground. No, these efforts by MUIS, but the Hajj itself is something that's regulated under AMLA. Because we have all of these, we enjoy a lot. When we want to discuss with the Saudi authorities, what is the quota to be given to our country,
I see.
how much people gonna go there, whether we have a specific place in camps. I mean, you look at it, this last year's Haji, how many people died?
How many?
From the thousands of people died from the heat wave. Why? Because when they go and do Hajj, they are not under any official banner. They sleep outside on the road. As Singaporeans, we have official camps in Mina and all that. Does this thing all come out thin air?
Right.
So Ustazah, earlier when you were saying, like as a practitioner yourself, as somebody who's on the field, like you felt, because you said this of course just now, you feel that like Amla Muiz actually facilitates like your practice as a Muslim. Is this what you mean?
Yes, I would like to pick up Zar's point earlier on when he mentioned about, when if we do not have this law, then we would probably have to face these two extremes. One is like wanting to, I'm not sure what would that be, but then another one would abolish totally.
Yeah.
And so therefore, and I would. And we are not certain of, probably there might be other interested party who may want to have their own law.
Right.
And so that would be, I just cannot imagine what would happen. And so I think this is something that we may want to reflect and see, probably at another optic, what would happen if you do not have Amla and Muiz.
Yes.
Something for us to reflect on. Yeah.
Yeah, I can imagine. Like, as it is already, I feel when you explain, it's quite a robust law, encompasses a lot of aspects of life.
Yeah.
But to abolish it totally, I think, we human beings, we need laws.
Yeah, no, and in fact, like, because so earlier, like you were talking about how like other communities, especially the minority, because there's no central.
No, because I want to finish my point also. Like, if we have issues, then which body do we report to?
Yeah.
What legal extension can we get? What sort of support can we get? Can you imagine if these structures are not in place? Wow, you end up really.
You end up with a mess.
And this is not unique to Singapore. So it's odd to me that Noor Derus is saying this because in Malaysia, the different states have the same
You are right.
Muslim Law Act. Of course, it has been improved upon and further developed in their respective states, right? Every different state has its own.
True.
I visited the Sharia courts in KL the other time. I had the opportunity to. They show us the whole structure. They explain how the different judges.
And sorry, these structures also not all foolproof. If you dig deep and you see Malaysians who also suffered because of like a lack of certain. How to say, like in divorce, for example, I have Malaysian listeners who say, very hard to get, how you want to fight for maintenance, all that kind of shit. But in Malaysia, they have it harder. I'm not saying across the board, but these are examples.
Yes.
So I understand different states of Malaysia, they kind of like work under a different kind of an AMLA law.
Correct, yes.
Right?
It is state-based versions of that same statute that was put in place so long ago.
So but it's slightly different in the Malaysian context because Malaysia is Muslim majority.
Yes.
Okay.
Over here, so exactly like you were saying just now, if you don't have, that means that what happens is you basically have like your own small communities that come up and have to take care of it yourselves. Which means that nothing is centralized. Everything is all over the place. You're going to have contradicting different approaches to different things, which is kind of what happens in Indonesia also, right? Like you have different bodies that have, they don't have AMLA, but over there they have got different
they
religious
have a lot
bodies
more laws over there as well.
Their laws are a mess, but like they've got like different bodies that sometimes have contradictory things. And that's what happens when you don't have a centralized body.
And it's also not unique here. Like if you look at countries that were previously colonized, places like Algeria, even India.
I wouldn't know.
All
really?
all have.
Doctor, is it exhausting when you... I know you're kind of exhausted,
I
back
see,
to back
I see in your
events.
face,
And we thank you for spending some time, but is it exhausting when you hear people, because I live in an influencer space where it's very easy to kind of like shout certain things, to kind of like stroke up sentiments just to get clout. And I understand that dynamics, but sometimes it doesn't come with actual solutions because the real work on the ground is really intense. So is it exhausting when you're on the ground, you know how much effort has been put behind this, and then when you hear them like, you should really come down and see what we do backstage, You feel that?
I think for us, it's really about focusing on what we have to do. If we were to attend to all these, so-called noises, or it would disrupt what we would want, what is supposed to be done. And I think to be focused is very important in this kind of work. Having the ability to understand that at the end of the day, Singapore is not the same as the other country. While perhaps maybe our neighboring country may have their own probably small community of Muslims because of their constitutions is different, because of their law is different. But for us, is the fact that because Singapore is a secular country and we must acknowledge that.
Yep.
Bluetooth disconnected. Bluetooth connected. Bluetooth disconnected. Bluetooth connected.
Different because of their law is different. But for us is the fact that because Singapore is a secular country and we must acknowledge that.
Yep.
And so we must be ready and we must understand that that is the law of the land. So we have to respect. And in Islam, there is no conflicting between us. For us, if the law of the land doesn't conflict with the Sharia, it is something that is acceptable. So it doesn't mean that okay, because you are in secular country, then you have to totally you cannot follow the law just because it is a secular country. So it doesn't go that way in Islamic teaching. So there is a way that we can actually complement one another. If it's something that bring benefits, at the end of the day, it is about maslahah of the community or what we say as the bringing benefit to the community or even the Singaporean.
Speaking of maslahah of the benefit, I don't know whether you want to answer this, Doctor, and also my learned friends, you want to answer this, go ahead. Because I'm in the heat of the elections, at times racial and also religion gets politicized it gets stoked.
I mean, okay, to be honest, does this happen? I mean, I don't know
in
if
Malaysia
this happened.
it does.
No, here in Singapore.
Singapore,
is there a history of this happening?
I mean, history no, but there are certain pain points that community experience, and then they become politicized. I don't know, it could be a strategy whether they are really interested in having solutions. But I know behind the scenes sometimes we don't see the things.
There's a lot more going on.
The things, the work that has been done. So it's very sexy to come out and say like, hey, we should have this, but really the amount of work that you could do behind the scenes is really a lot. Case in point, tudung issue.
Yes.
When I spoke to my dad before coming here, me and my dad like to talk about politics and all that.
Right.
Then he is like, he has friends like Daman Huri and then like Prof Kai, and then he has like friends with
Daman Huri as in the SDP.
Yeah, the SDP guy, and then he talked to some PP members, whatever kind of thing. I don't know who my dad is at this point. Like, we have so many friends from different factions, but it doesn't matter. But we were talking about tudung issue. He said, Zah, this tudung issue, it's been 10 years. There's a lot of work that's been put behind closed doors. The surveys that has been done, the engagement has been done, dialogues has been done. So it's really interesting. And now we have an Asatiza in the studio. I just want to get a sense of
because it is potentially an issue that you're going to be sensationalized
definitely
in these elections.
Yeah, not only that, like the Gaza issue also, and that's an issue to be talked.
That's
on
another
story.
one,
But I want to get your sensing. Is it true? It takes 10 years. It's very difficult to kind of like.
Were you involved?
Yeah, I know there were dialogues involved.
Can you say if you were involved?
There were dialogues involved. There were surveys involved.
Right.
I mean, I wasn't involved. I don't know.
I mean, share your journey.
Because people don't know this.
To be honest, I was not involved directly at the very early stage. I was involved at quite a later stage when I was in a fatwa committee. So I do witness the efforts that was being done at that later stage. But what I know from my little knowledge is that Pergas has always been, particularly Ustaz Hasbi, has always been pushing this, do we say request?
Suggestion and this.
So Ustaz Hasbi has always been pushing this request of allowing our Muslim women to wear hijab. But at the same time, if we were to look at the statement, I think Pergas have issued a statement in 2013. It was very clear and in detail about what was the effort being done back then.
2013.
2013, yes, there was a Pergas
more than 10 years
statement.
ago.
Way long.
Very
Yeah,
long,
that's
yeah.
way long.
Yeah, and so we can also see the other efforts that was being done is including consultations with the MHPA, the Muslim Healthcare Professional. There were also the FGD dialogues, conversations with Muslim women, the nurses themselves, the government agencies, just for us to understand each other. What would be the concerns and why is it that it is important for us also to allow us to be wearing the tudung. And so I would say that it was not easy. It is not something that so we want this to be implemented, we request from the government and then we get it. It has to be involved. I mean, a lot of conversations, a lot of dialogue have to be done in order for us to get that kind of understanding. But at the end of the day, you can also see that in the Pergas statement, being Muslim is also not about that rituals, but also it's really about having the patience and having the ability to really put forth things in a good way, and not in something which is in a negative way.
So efforts have been in place since 2013, but if I remember,
even way before that, I guess. The statement came out in 2013.
That's true. Yes,
Yeah.
but the policy change itself only happened quite recently, right? Like
Last 5 years.
Right.
I think so, yeah.
2021.
2021, yeah.
There were several pushbacks from, and then after they discuss again.
Oh my goodness, like how?
Yeah.
That is
So
like-
just to give an idea lah, like to put, to allow for something to happen, I feel we shouldn't also, is the term negate or kind of like cancel downplay the efforts of many. At times, here in Plan B, sometimes I'm also, how to say, when you hear things in Parliament right after a week after we've done our Plan B shows, you're like, hey, they copy us. But you don't know to table that motion. Maybe they took research, they took months and months of work, and when it actually comes out, and then we kind of like we say it first and then come out. The timing. People look at it like, actually Plan B say it first, then this minister say it.
I will say we can be.
And we lap it up. We lap it up. Like, we did it.
But you must always have that perspective, lah.
No, I think we can be magnanimous enough to say that everybody played a part.
Right.
Actually, the ground up efforts that has been going on for more than 10 years.
That's fair.
That's one angle.
Yeah.
Different ministers or representatives in Parliament pushing it would definitely have had an impact as well.
And it's
But it's not something to just ascribe to one person.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it was a collective effort.
Correct.
Many people did their part.
And I mean, like as Ustaza was saying just now, so it's not just a matter of like one community, because I mean, like you were saying just now, right? We are part of a broader society.
So if I can also add, there was a task force even, and that task force. So
I really love our task force.
I didn't know.
Like tariff, bro.
I didn't know, man.
So that task force actually consists of the Pergas Council, the Pergas Masyayikh, and we also have actually a representative among the non-Asatiza as well.
Right.
So that shows that it is not just about religious obligation. It's not just about pushing things has got to do with religion, but we also need to also involve the other involved.
Were you personally involved in this task force?
No.
Okay, so like you say, you joined a bit, as in you were involved a bit later. I see. Okay.
Ustazah, Doctor, thank you so much for being with us. I know you are a person very busy schedule.
No, okay. I just want to add one last point. I'm sorry. I just want to add one point.
Okay, last one.
No, because I'm Chinese.
She tired, bro.
And I know, sorry, Ustazah, but like no, I want to raise this point because Ustazah said also just now, like like we are part of a broader society. It's multicultural, it's multireligious, blah blah. I'm Chinese, right? So I'm in a sense I'm Muslim, yes, but I also have like one foot into like the broader
other cultures, yes,
exactly. And sometimes I do hear, like so just now Zah was asking you if you penat or what, like, but like I do, unfortunately, I do get the sensing, especially during this period, of like, some people looking at the Muslim community from outside,
right,
and kind of going like, why the Muslim community got this problem?
Always.
I mean, and you've said before, you've also heard this kind of sentiment sometimes, chit chatter.
I understand.
Like, is it tiring as, Asatiza to have to, on one hand, you have to juggle all of these concerns, but then, because like you say, you're very aware, we are part of a broader society. You have to also balance these other considerations also, like other communities. What are they thinking? What are they seeing coming from the community?
Yeah, I think I also need to be clear because I think I mentioned attending that noises. So I'm not putting it in a negative way. I mean, there is a genuine voices and for me, yes, we do acknowledge those feedbacks, we do acknowledge those comments, we acknowledge those suggestions. Thought something that we would consider whenever we want to issue religious responses or even any like statement. At the same time, I think it is also important that because we are living in a multiracial country, so we are not just about Malay Muslim country, and so therefore I think conversations is very important. It is not right and it will not be doing justice if we were to come out with a certain statement without having that conversations with that particular group. I think that is not within that Islamic teaching. For us, because Islam highlight and emphasize on principles such as mercy, compassion. So I think with this principle, I think it guided us in terms of forming up a certain solutions or when we need to solve a certain problem. So really it is about that ihsan, when we call it, or compassion, and that mercy is something that we really emphasize on. So when we talk about mercy, it is not just about the Muslim community, so it also includes the non-Muslim community.
Doctor, thank you so much for spending some time. I hope this brings you some value to our listeners and also viewers. If you're liking it, you can take slices of this. Don't quote us out of context. Put the full context in. Tag us on Insta Story. We'll repost it. We'll see you on the next podcast only on planb.sg. Bye-bye.
You're listening to Plan B Podcast. The opinions expressed and shared on this podcast are of our own.
Some breaking news that we want to get to right now, and that is this.
Government will support you, the individual works hard, and the employers will employ and promote fairly.
Always underestimate,
Welcome to planb.sg.
I'm Zar Ismail.
And I'm Denmark.
And I am Rama.
So a bit of context to our listeners. Earlier on, when I came in already, you all, both of you are fighting.
We were arguing.
Yeah,
It was actually quite heated.
Yeah,
Yes.
But I just had
I got very irritated with Devin.
I
got very
had a
irritated
chance
as
to
well.
step back and laugh at the whole
up,
exchange.
like you
No,
pointed
because
It's always
you are a
fun.
lawyer,
Yes.
and then you soon to be lawyer.
Yeah.
Then like you are not economists. And then after that, you talk as if like these things really
Yeah,
important.
but he always generalizes.
So what was the issue?
Sweeping
No,
statements.
so basically I was having this argument that like what Trump has done is it's a serious thing. It's a very serious thing. But I don't get the sense.
Alright, and that's the end of the podcast episode regarding Noor Derus and the general election issue. Okay, so I think that is all for this live for this afternoon. Alright, inshallah we will be continue next time, not tonight, because tonight I will not be at home. Okay, I got other stuff to do. Alright, inshallah we will see you next time. Bye bye. Muska is out.